What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Cedar Podcast. We are back. Got a full slate today here on the show, talking about the Masters a little bit, talking about the WNBA draft that happened last night, and then diving into the NBA play-in tournament, which starts tonight. 2 games tonight, 2 games tomorrow night, leading up to the final play-in games this upcoming Friday before the playoffs start this weekend here in the NBA. So let's just dive right in. First off, let's talk about the Masters that just finished up here on Sunday, and well, I gotta say, we all saw that coming. Scottie Scheffler wins going away by 4 strokes at 11 under. Really, the only thing that could have stopped him was his wife, who is expected to give birth to their first child any day now, by calling and say, yeah, it's go time, but that didn't happen, so happy for Scottie. Just incredible. Gets his second green jacket in 3 years. Just had an incredible run, over the last, really 2 years here. I would say the Masters run there 2 years ago was really kind of the start of him starting to come up. He's been around for a while, but that Masters was really, in my opinion, kind of the start of this incredible run he's on, specifically this year as well. But I would describe his run as, just being like incredibly consistent. Probably the most consistent golfer we have in the game right now. We've seen Jordan Spieth go on a run like this. Then obviously Tiger went on multiple runs like this, over a long period of time. And, some other guys as well, but just incredibly consistent from Scottie. Anytime he makes a mistake, gets a bogey or per se, he almost immediately bounces back with a couple birdies in a row to get himself back. Rarely finishes around over par. I forget what the streak is, but just an incredible run going forward, an incredible year so far for Scottie. And then obviously congrats to, him and his wife, expecting their first child here any day now. So congrats to them. Some other notables from this weekend, Ludwig Aberg in his first Masters gets second place. Really the only one late on Sunday that had a chance to catch Scottie. Going into the day, there was really 3 or 4 guys that had a chance to get Scottie. Aberg was really the only one that stuck around super late, say the last 5 holes, had a shot if, he made some shots, and then if Scottie made a couple mistakes, he was the only one right there that had a shot, but he finished in second in his first Master, a great showing from him. Max Homa, who was right there going into Sunday as well, had his best major finish at tied third. Colin Morikawa, who was in that final grouping with Scottie, did not have a good Sunday and finished tied third with Max. And then also, just want to say that it was great to see Tiger out there, hung in there. The going into the weekend, going in at just 1 over, wasn't too many shots off, gave himself a chance, at least to get into that top 10 maybe, but really struggled over the weekend, finishing at plus 16, which is obviously his worst score ever at a Masters, but it was great to just see him get through the weekend as a whole and be out there in general. Next, let's dive into the WNBA draft that happened last night in Brooklyn. Obviously, Caitlin Clark goes number 1 to the Indiana Fever. We've known that for months. That's where, that she was going to go number 1. We know she's going to go to the Indiana Fever for a while once they got the number 1 pick. And pairing her with Aaliyah Boston, which should be a dynamic duo. Caitlin led the NCAA last year in assists per game as well, and scoring. It's not just her scoring. She led the nation in assists as well. So you add that with Aaliyah's post presence, and Kelsey Mitchell, who's a career 16-point per game scorer. Should be an interesting time ahead in Indiana. Obviously, there could be growing periods as well. Obviously, they had the number 1 pick for a reason. Didn't have a good season last year, but they're adding talent. Whatever. Can some of the other pieces around them fill in to have this be a good season for Indiana? I don't know. They'll obviously have a lot of exposure. I believe it's 36 of their 40 games or so being on national TV. And that's the Caitlin Clark effect. But they should be a fun team to watch nonetheless. At second overall, Cameron Brink, Defensive Player of the Year out of the Pac-12, and Stanford goes second to the Sparks, who obviously lost Nneka Ogwumike this offseason. And then with the first pick, the Sparks also brought in Rakia Jackson, the wing from Tennessee. Had a really good season and a really good career there in Tennessee as well. The reigning NCAA champ, Camila Cardoza, goes to the Chicago Sky, and they pair her with Angel Reese with the 7th pick, which should grow into an incredible, kind of high-low 4-5 punch there in Chicago. Obviously, Angel can, shoot the ball a little bit better around the perimeter. She could step out to 3 a little bit, but even that mid-range, that elbow area, and then Cardoza is obviously just a beast on on both blocks and in the paint. And then obviously they both are incredible at rebounding. So, times are changing for the Sky. Obviously they won the title just a couple years ago with Candace Parker, but getting some new faces there in Chicago to, get back to where they were just a couple of seasons ago. Then another Big Ten player going in the top 5. We saw Ohio State's J.C. Sheldon go to the Dallas Wings at 5. UConn's Aaliyah Edwards goes to Washington at 6. And then some other notable selections throughout the rest of the draft. UConn's Nika Mule goes to Seattle, similar to, obviously, Sue Bird from UConn, 25 years ago, was drafted to Seattle from UConn. So that was a cool comparison there, where she should be able to back up Skylar Diggins-Smith and Jewel Lloyd with her incredible on-ball defense, winning Big East Defensive Player of the Year, and making Caitlin Clark work incredibly hard for everything she got in that Final Four matchup. I think she should log some minutes year one, and her defense alone should, keep her on the floor at times in a backup role for the Seattle Storm there. Plus, the Seattle Storm, they also added Nneka Ogwumike, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, from the Sparks. But watch out for the Seattle in the West this year to maybe make a little noise and have kind of a bounce-back year, getting back to where they were just a couple seasons ago. Obviously, they lost Stewie a couple years ago, and Sue Bird retiring last couple years as well, or recently as well. But look for Seattle to, start heading back in the right direction with some of the moves they've made. And then Kate Martin goes 18 to the Las Vegas Aces. A cool moment for her afterwards as well. She said to Holly Rowe that, she came to support Caitlin. She was hoping to hear her name, but didn't know if she would. I think she'll be able to add some depth to an already loaded Aces roster looking to three-peat. And then closing out the WNBA draft talk, Mackenzie Holmes from Indiana, who we saw destroy the conference for years. She's off to Seattle as well with the 26th pick. Then now to close this episode, let's wrap it up by talking about the play-in tournament. Tonight we got the Lakers versus Pelicans and the Warriors versus Kings. The first game, a rematch of the regular season finale where the Lakers won 124-108. Anthony Davis went off for 30 and 11, and LeBron had a 17-assist triple-double. Injuries for the Lakers, Anthony Davis, questionable, but should play. Christian Wood and Jarred Vanderbilt are out for LA. No injuries to report for the Pelicans. Closing the season, the Pelicans were 5-5 in their last 10 games, which included a 4-game losing streak and a 4-game winning streak. And then the Lakers were 7-3 in their last 10 games. The second game tonight is the rematch of last year's first-round matchup. The Warriors versus the Kings. Steph went for 50 in Game 7 last year to send the Dubs to the second round. And then that was a game as well that Steph lit the beam, Sacramento's whole gimmick. Light the beam after they win a home game, whatever. But that was an incredible game, an incredible series, 7-game series. One of the best series, probably the best series of the NBA playoffs last year. But both teams do have some injuries to talk about. Gary Payton II is out for Golden State. Kevin Huerter is out the remainder of the season. He's been out for a while. And then Malik Monk will not be able to go in this game either for Sacramento. So this 6-3 matchup from a year ago now sees both teams needing to win 2 games just to get into the playoffs this year. Overall, the Warriors have closed the season really strong. They've won 10 of 12. And then the Kings, they have been kind of struggling to the finish line, obviously with some injuries. Malik Monk getting injured a couple weeks ago. They have lost 5 of 7 down the stretch. Keys for the Warriors here, you need to contain Fox and Sabonis, especially with Monk and Huerter out. Those are obviously the 2 main guys. Obviously, you need to worry about Barnes and Murray as well, and they have good other guys who can make shots as well. But those 2, Fox and Sabonis, are who you really need to key on, and I'm really curious specifically how they're going to defend De'Aaron Fox. Do you throw Wiggins at him, and do you keep Dre on Sabonis there, or do you maybe, you play a big, whether it's Looney or Trace Jackson-Davis, Kuminga? Do you put another wing, say Jonathan Kuminga? Do you start him and, put him on Fox to put some length on him to stop his drives to the basket and his playmaking ability? But anyway, I think both these games are going to be incredible tonight. Tomorrow we have the East play-in, Miami and Philly, and Atlanta and Chicago. We'll be back to talk about everything from the play-in tonight, going into tomorrow, and later this week we'll have the playoff preview once the whole bracket is set. Then we'll have MSU Spring Football Showcase game talk later this week too, coming up this Saturday. Plus another big episode of Survivor tomorrow, coming down the stretch run here of this season. So we'll be back to talk about that as well. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.